right. Well, welcome once again. Here I am in the comfort of my own home, and I'm in Victoria, British Columbia right now. And Kevin Corbley from somewhere in Colorado, northern Colorado, I guess, is joining me this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Glenn. Actually, I'm down just south of Denver, so kind of the central part of the Front Range. Yeah, I feel like I should have. We should have done this. I should have put my phone on like the dashboard of my Mustang and driven around like the last one of these that you and I did in San Diego. Remember that?
We did. We did a GeoGeeks in cars. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Funny. I was just looking at. I made a story map of all those videos. I was just looking at that this morning. So
Yeah. How many of those did you end up doing?
Oh, about 30.
Oh, nice, nice. They're pretty good. A lot of them hold up pretty well.
Yeah, they're timeless. So, but here we are. You're joining me. This is the first time joining me on the podcast. It was almost exactly. It was a little more than a year ago, exactly, that I ran the first one of these. I figured I'd call it GeoGeeksatHome podcast.
Right.
And, yeah, and I don't know why I stopped. I think I just kind of burnt out last year. Like a lot of people were, just so much going on and changing, right? That
yeah.
Well,
it's appropriate you should do one with me, because after all, I tell people I've been on lockdown for 28 years, so keep that in mind.
Right.
So that's how, more or less, that's how long I've been working out of the house here.
Wow. Okay. Well, that reminds me, a proper intro. So, Kevin, you have your company, Corbley Communications, right? And you specialize in PR and communications for geomatics and geotech. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Started it in '93 here in the Denver area. Yeah. And kind of a classic public relations, marketing communications company, offer all the typical content creation services. Content creation, I guess, is the buzz term now. But yeah, working almost exclusively with geospatial organizations, some aerospace mixed in, and but yeah, that's pretty much it.
Right. So I get a lot of PR from you. I have over the years. That's how we know each other, right?
Right.
And, we've attended a lot of conferences in the past. And,
yes, we've you and I have gotten together at a number of conferences, no doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, probably over the last 25 years or so, I'm thinking. So
yeah,
for you, a little more maybe.
Yeah, well, I've been going to I started in the geospatial industry in '89 when I went to work at EOSAT, which ran the Landsat program back then. And for those of you who are interested in history, EOSAT was bought by Space Imaging shortly after Space Imaging was formed in like '94, '95. I was already gone from EOSAT by then. But then, of course, Space Imaging merged with Orb Image to create GeoEye, and then GeoEye was bought by Digital Globe, and Digital Globe is now Maxar. So that's the lineage going all the way back to EOSAT and the Landsat program for modern day remote sensing.
Oh, okay. That's boy, that's some good trivia. I've often thought that a data visualization showing that that lineage would be really handy, because even for us who've been in the industry for a long time, it's hard to keep tabs on who's who in the remote sensing space.
Yeah, and it's amazing how many of the people who are a lot of major players now in the industry started at EOSAT back there in the '80s and early '90s. So EOSAT really, I mean, however successful it was at commercializing Landsat, it was very successful in seeding the market with really, really talented people who've done a great deal to make the industry what it is today, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I know myself, so I'm in the Northwest, right, in British Columbia. I've spent a lot of time here as well as Colorado. But and here we have a lot of history. Used to be actually PCI Geomatics. Used to be, their main office was about 2 blocks from my home here.
Really?
Yeah, that's right.
I didn't know that. I thought they were always in Toronto. That's interesting.
Yeah, they had, they were, I'm trying to think anyway. So, so you folks that are into space imaging and remote sensing, whatever terminology, and
Yep.
you need help with content. That's kind of your Kevin's forte. So how's that been over, a year for the industry on, lockdown?
Right. Yeah,
How,
that's a
how's
great
that going?
question. I get asked a lot. I like to tell people that my company is kind of the canary in the coal mine for the geospatial industry. And I have to say, last year was pretty good for me, but I did see some changes, just like everybody did. The biggest change I saw was a lot of companies asking me to do press releases. Now, I've always done press releases for clients, but really picked up that part of my business. And I think what happened as companies couldn't go to trade shows anymore in 2020. Fortunately, they had a little bit of budget left over in those cases, but they had to find a way to communicate, right? And they couldn't have their salespeople going out making sales calls. So one of the most immediate marketing or communications vehicles available to them was press releases, because I put a press release out in the morning and people like yourself pick it up and it's in GIS user right by afternoon. So and then you can post the links around on social media. So there's a real immediacy to press releases, and those really picked up last year, and that's continued right through the first quarter of 2021.
Interesting. So, so in addition to that, I mean, obviously people are still working and companies are innovating and they're creating new apps and services.
Yep.
So, how else? I mean, how would you, if I have a new product, right, that I've rolled out, because I mean, there's actually no reason to slow down innovating, right? When you got people that are at home and everyone's looking for stuff to do, huh? Let's
Yeah,
put our heads
exactly.
down and code. So how do you get the word out besides PR?
Yeah, I mean, traditionally, other things I've done, for instance, a lot of content for websites, obviously, that's kind of a given. And there's a nice mix these days of kind of the longer pieces, feature articles that I still like trying to get those published in the industry publications. But for websites, you can do a lot of shorter content, case studies. Blogs obviously are very popular because they raise your SEO scores. So do a lot of that, and I'm trying to encourage as many of my clients as possible to stick with advertising, because again, advertising is such a great way to build brand, whether it's in a display ad or online ad, digital ad. They both really help, and plus the publications really need the support. Thing that people forget about industry trade publications, they're really the front line of education anymore, and not just our industry, but any high-tech industry. You take a class and the professors, they're doing their best, but a lot of the information that's in textbooks, for instance, it might be several years old by the time you read it, but boy, the cutting edge stuff, it's in the trade publications. So that's why I really encourage my clients and anybody to advertise in the industry trade publications.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, obviously, I have a vested interest in that
Yeah,
with GIS user, which
sure.
is, I treat as kind of a part-time thing, but I mean, it's my baby,
Yep.
and it is, it's my conduit. That's my connection to the industry, and keep it going. But
Yeah.
so yeah, and I encourage companies to as well. I mean, don't forget about the publications. The GIS Cafe and Directions Mag, and
Right.
there's a host of others. Right, we've probably got about 10 that are most companies will know about. And
Yeah.
yeah, support your favorite publications, keep them going, because if they all go away, then it's going to be a real drag for the industry.
Yeah, yeah. I hope we really see a resurgence in the publications, especially print publications. I still, back when I used to get on planes to go to trade shows and conferences, I used to have a stack of magazines in the corner of my office, and I shoved them in my briefcase to read on the plane and in the airport and so forth. And so anyway, I still love print. I mean, I like digital too, but I hope print publications never go away.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. There's a couple. I love getting my partner's business partner's lidar magazine.
Yep,
It's a great one. All bias aside, it's really is good if people are interested in lidar. And
absolutely.
I really enjoy the GeoInt publications. That the USGS or not USGS, the
USGIF, yeah, yeah,
USGIF.
trajectory. That's an outstanding publication, absolutely. Yeah, and you know, and speaking of them, and you and I were kind of, as we were prepping a little while ago for this, we were talking about conferences. That's the big thing. Everybody's chomping at the bit to go back to conferences. You know, the online conferences, I think they've done okay, but those online trade shows, virtual trade shows, I just have not gotten a lot of good reports from my clients, and believe me, they're ready to go back out there. I think we all are, right? I mean, we're social animals,
Yeah.
and we want to see each other in person and sit down and have a, you know, have a coffee or a beer or whatever. And so you know, I just took a quick look around. If you'd like, I'll give you a quick list of the rundown on conferences that I see coming up. The big one, the Esri User Conference, that's completely virtual, middle of July, so nothing in person there. But around the same time, middle of July, IGARS, which is a big conference, it's going to be in Brussels. It's going to be hybrid, so there is going to be an in-person component to that. I'm hoping to get to it, not sure that's going to happen. Another one I really like, SmallSat in Logan, Utah. That's completely virtual again in August. Intergeo it's going to be hybrid, third week in September in Germany. But they're really playing up their in-person part of it. I'm planning to go. I already got the email from them about the hotel reservations.
Buy a refundable ticket.
I hope. Well, I'm going to be using, to go to Intergeo, I'm going to be using my refundable United ticket from that I didn't get to use to go to GeoEnt last year. Yeah. And speaking of GeoEnt, that's been scheduled in person about the first to second week of October in St. Louis this year. So so GeoEnt is going to happen. You know, fingers crossed.
Yeah, let's hope.
We're all hoping. So I'm hoping to go to that one. We'll see as well. So yeah. So so good stuff. We're just, again, fingers crossed.
Yeah. And anyone listening, if you've never been to a GeoEnt, you know, maybe you know, you're thinking GeoIntel and military and all that. Yeah, that's a heavy part of it. But it's a fantastic conference, and even if that's not your main industry to focus on, it's so interesting, and the speakers they have are just outstanding. You know, if you want to hear people and meet like General Clapper and the likes, these people like that are there. It's cool.
Yeah, I remember eating dessert with Clapper several years ago at one of the receptions. And one thing about GeoEnt, people think that it's only the big companies that are there, but the last several years they've really made an effort to have an area of the exhibit hall set aside for the small companies. And you'll see a lot of small companies doing some really cutting edge stuff. It is a great show. So hopefully it's going to be a big success this year too.
Good. And speaking of that, so for people from you know, small mom and pop shops and startups, you know, cool tech startups, I always encourage them to explore those event opportunities. You know, there might be like you know, a startup zone, like, so Esri does that, but other conferences also do that, and it can be a very affordable way to attend those events. And they'll often have speaking opportunities, like, you know, lightning talks.
Yeah.
You know, take part in. So
yeah, it's great. If you're a small company in the geospatial industry, don't shy away from getting involved in one way or another in these conferences. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And young folks just starting out in the industry, students too, who are about to graduate, look at those conferences for, you know, maybe you can volunteer. They always want volunteers, and you get a free registration and maybe more. You get fed.
Yeah.
So it's a good opportunity, and GeoEnt is a great conference for you know, young people to go to.
Absolutely. Yeah, they always have the young adult events. I think they're young, what do they call them? Young geospatialers or something. Young geo, I forget what they call them, but they have a lot of special events just for the you know, students or the people right out of school. And I'll tell you, IGARS, that conference also, boy, they really cater to the students. You'll find a lot of grad students, PhD candidates there, and a lot of young people. And it's invigorating to go to a conference like that where there's so many smart young people running around. It makes you feel good about the future.
Yeah, yeah, I'll try to use it when I go to those. I maybe shave off the white and try to blend in with the
Right.
young professionals a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Good. Well, that's good. I'm glad we got something to look forward to. And yeah, you're right. The boy, I really feel for the event people organizing the events because it's been such a headache and huge challenge for them. I agree the virtual events as far as in it, I've seen some events, not necessarily in GIS, but other sectors too, that have tried to kind of, replicate that conference experience. And
Right.
it's tough. And I don't know, I guess it depends what you're into. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe, I mean, as virtual reality gets better, maybe the virtual trade shows will get better. That's really where I think where the improvements need to happen. I mean, there's been plenty of great online sessions, conferences and panels and webinars and all that. There's been a ton of that this year. But maybe, as they've talked about, people are getting kind of overloaded with it. But yeah, it's definitely been the trade show part that we need to figure out. If there's going to be virtual events, we need to figure out how to make that a better experience in the future.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Having all the presentations and being virtual this year has been great though for all of us that are I always enjoy those as someone who's worked from home also for almost 20 years. It's nice to see some people and listen to them pitch. So that's been great over the last year.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of that myself. Yeah.
Good. All right, well, we could keep on going, but I don't know, we're probably like, I don't even know how long. We're easily 15 minutes into this. So any final words for the listeners?
No, I hope to see everybody back at a trade show in person at some point before 2021 ends. And I'm confident that it's going to happen. I think a lot of these planned in person or hybrid events, I think they're going to go forward, and I'm looking forward to being there.
Good, something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, those of you listening, if you ever have a need, if you're stuck for marketing ideas or you need some help with content, technical content, look up Kevin Corbley. If you don't, you can also contact myself. That's something I do as well through my Glepham Communications, and I'm always glad to send people Kevin's way as well when there's stuff that I can't handle or I feel is more more up your alley, for sure.
Yeah, appreciate that. And speaking of conferences, for years I worked with a guy named Tom Davis who designs trade show booths and does trade show booth management. And he started his company back up again. So anybody needs that kind of service, kind of end-to-end trade show management, including building a booth from scratch, designing and building it, just give me a buzz. I'll put you in touch with Tom Davis. He's also a guy here in Colorado. So otherwise, my web address is corbleycommunications.com. Okay.
Yeah, good to know. You gotta think about all those things. And hopefully I'll be seeing you in a couple months. This is my first podcast where I've got my U.S. green card and I'll be relocating to Fort Collins once again. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get together a Rockies game this year, huh?
Yeah, let's hope.
That'll be great. Good deal. Well, thanks a lot for having me, Glenn.
Okay. Good talking, Kevin. I'm going to hit the stop button. If I can find it, it's buried here somewhere. So where's the stop recording? There we go.
There you go.
So thanks for listening this has been GeoGeeks at Home. And I hope to keep rolling these in the near future.